I'm Tara.
I'm Ryan.
We love Disney movies.
So we decided to watch them all, from Snow White
To Frozen 2 and beyond. Each episode will watch a different Walt Disney Animated Studios film and tell you all about it.
Did we like it? Does it hold up? Who's our favorite hero?
Or villain.
We'll give you history and fun facts about each movie.
And sometimes we'll invite our friends to watch along with us.
So put on your tiara
Or your evil crown.
and join us on our adventure.
This is Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries. All right, so today we are covering Dumbo, Disney's 1941.
No, hi, hello, I'm Tara, just straight
hello,
up.
I'm Tara. You said we have an intro, so
Well-
I went for it.
Well, guys, we have a guest today. Our guest today is our friend, my friend from the land of Dungeons and Dragons. This is our friend Melissa. Melissa, say hello.
Hello.
Now, it's funny because I meant to say this before the interview. Before the interview, you're being
I know,
interviewed
very
by
official now.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Is this one of your favorites?
Well, so when I was a child, it definitely was. And I have a lot of like stories and things related to Dumbo, so I was actually kind of glad this was the one that we ended up doing. Because like when I was a kid, my mom has lots of stories of me watching and rewinding on the good old, VHS tape,
Yes.
Pink Elephants over and over and over again.
I love Pink
Okay,
Elephants. Do you not
listeners,
remember
I
Pink
have a
Elephants?
confession. I remember nothing about this movie. The only thing I remember about it, I saw it when I was a kid, is that Dumbo can fly and he has a feather. That's
Yes.
Those are kind of the same fact.
Yes.
Like, he can fly.
He can fly
he
because
has
of the
a
feather.
Yeah.
So this is going to be all new to me. I remember nothing.
I
Not-
could
not-
probably almost quote it. Probably.
That's
Really?
great.
Yeah,
That's gonna
I
be
mean,
interesting.
so the other thing is like the song Baby Mine that's from this. I used to sing it to my two big kids when they were babies and when they were
I
little.
love that.
So, yeah. And then when Maggie was going to be born, we were going to do her nursery in Dumbo. So when we went to Disney after I found out I was pregnant, we got one of the sketches of like
Oh, that's
Dumbo and
cool.
Dumbo's mom.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that.
So
Was it Dumbo and Dumbo's mom when Dumbo's mom is in a cage?
Ooh. No, I don't think so.
Because I think this one, and I remember this one having some very strange imagery. I remember not liking this one when I was a kid.
I like
love
have
Pink
no
Elephants.
impression.
It's okay.
Yeah, which is
I
crazy.
Well-
loved it, but like it's so dark and so sad.
There's some
As an
very
adult.
dark. It's interesting because I as usual I watched the documentary on it, and the one thing they said they really liked about it is this one had a lot of emotionality to it. Like as an adult, it's easy, you watch back. It's not just everyone's having a good time. It's things are sad, things are scary,
Yeah,
things
there's a
are,
lot of
are
different
hard.
layers
so,
to it.
Yeah.
so you want to hit us up with the
yeah, I'll read the synopsis here. So it says, struggling circus owner Max, how do you say his last name?
I don't know if I even knew he had a last Medici.
Medici,
Medici.
Medici, enlists a former star and his two children to care for Dumbo, a baby
Oh no.
elephant. Oh,
This is the
Oh, this is
2019 synopsis.
sorry. I had the old
I'm
one
like-
up, and now
I
I
was
jumped
like-
to that one. I was like,
I
this
was like,
isn't
does
right.
the ringmaster have a name?
Sorry, guys, that's the new one. We're not talking about that. Oh, that makes so much more sense why that one had a low Rotten Tomatoes score. I was like, why did this one have such a
I
low
never
Rotten
watched
Tomatoes
it.
score?
I didn't want to watch it.
Tara's like, you're gonna be shocked at the
Rotten Tomatoes score. I was reading the wrong synopsis.
So
listeners.
this is our first one we've done so far that has one of the new Disney updates. I didn't realize that. I'd forgotten this one.
Oh,
Disney
yeah,
update.
that has a live action
Yeah.
version, which none of us have seen. I haven't seen the live action one, so.
Yeah.
Heard it
Okay.
was garbage, so I didn't watch it.
Well, Rotten Tomatoes gave it 47%. So I was, okay. I've got the right
All right.
information now. I apologize. A young circus elephant is born with comically large ears and given the cruel nickname Dumbo.
Will Smith. Oh, sorry.
One day at a show, he is taunted by a group of kids, inciting his mother into a rage that gets her locked up. After Dumbo's ears cause an accident that injures many of the other elephants, he is made to dress like a clown and perform dangerous stunts. Everything changes when Dumbo discovers that his enormous ears actually allow him to fly, and he astounds everyone at the circus with his new talent. And it is 98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Now, I was about to make a joke about, didn't you recently make fun of my ears? And then I remembered we have it recorded. It's on this podcast.
We do. It's on the
Snow
White
White
episode.
episode.
I
And
heard
your ears
that.
your ears actually are not large. I'm so sorry. I thought it was a funny little comment, and then I realized it was me.
You're
When I
like,
was-
you remind me of Dumbo because of your ears. And you were
No,
like,
it was
hey, wait a
Dopey.
minute. Oh, yeah, Dopey.
Yeah, it was dopey. Yeah.
When I was in high school, doing the gross high school thing where I think me and my girlfriend at the time were going back and forth going like, ooh, I love your hair. Ooh, I love your eyes. Ooh, I love that.
That's
She goes,
disgusting.
Right. And she
Yeah.
goes, I love the gap in your front teeth. And I go, I have a gap in my front teeth.
That's what you get,
Which now
man.
I can't not see it. But I remember like distinctly like the whole mood of the day changed from to what?
That's a cautionary tale. Teenagers, don't play that game.
I wasn't mad at her. It was just
never
like
know.
a revelation.
Oh my
But some
God.
of the things that Melissa mentioned earlier tie into some of my facts, which I found interesting. But one of them, when you were talking about rewinding it on the video cassette, on the VHS, this was the first Disney movie to be released on video cassette, which I found interesting in 1981, and it was only rental. So you could only rent it. And then in 1982, it went up for sale. So that I found really interesting that they didn't go with Snow White. They didn't go with, because Snow White was, I would say, equally as successful. Like, it made them money.
Snow White was this. Okay, so the success of this one is an interesting story because they had Snow White and Snow White was a big success. I don't know comparatively what they were.
Yeah, I don't know numbers wise, but I know it was a success, and
Pinocchio was not.
Pinocchio, they spent a lot of money, was not a success.
Fantasia was a real.
Fantasia since then has made a lot of
Has
money,
made a
but
lot
the
of money,
opening release of Fantasia, it like bombed.
And
It
part
did
of
not
the
do
reason
well,
for
and
that-
they spent a lot of money on that too.
Part of the reason for that was we talked about this last episode was it's 2 hours. It didn't really play very well to middle America. It did very well in New York and LA, but like they had like 2 shows a day, but it was an event. You went, you were seated.
There was an intermission.
They
yeah.
made
You went
it-
and saw it in the theater. Yeah,
They made it seem like
you got a program.
yeah, it was like
Made
going
it
to
like
the orchestra.
you were going to a live orchestra
So
performance.
that was a 2-hour movie, and this one is an hour and like 3 minutes or something ridiculous
Yeah.
because this one was we need to make money. So they were, they brought in the guys. Basically, it's an hour-long version of Silly Symphony. They're not doing a whole lot of new stuff. They're doing a lot of interesting things with. When I watched the documentary, Shadow. They did a lot of study of German. Oh, is it German impression? The German film movement in like the early like teens and 20s. Like they watched like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and things like that, where it's all shadows and weird perspective. Surrealism plays a lot in it, but they didn't do a whole lot of stuff. There was a guy who quoted as saying, by trying not to be artistic, they created an amazing piece of art.
Well, and they also, what I found interesting is they used watercolor backgrounds in this, and they did that in Snow White, and that saved them money than doing the oils.
It's cheaper, but you can't change as much. Once it's there, you can't go back and like draw over watercolors.
And watercolors, so they use it in Snow White, they use it in Dumbo. They don't use it again until Fantasia 2000.
Oh, really?
So, and I wonder if that's because you can't change them. I wonder if they decided that wasn't how they wanted to do the backgrounds. But yeah, they don't do watercolor backgrounds again until Fantasia 2000,
and
I found interesting.
I think they talked about choosing this one because of they went, okay, it's a circus one. We want to do this one next, or we want to put this one out next because we've already built in bright colored advertising. Like we just put up circus posters of Dumbo. Like everything's already there to catch your eye. They've done some of the work for us.
Well, and the other thing we had talked about briefly before we started, Ryan and I, is that the story men on this one, who was Joe Grant and Dick Humer, is that how you say his last name? They wrote this film in installments. So they would leave like part of the story on Walt's desk, but he wouldn't know what would happen next. And so
they'd write at the end of the installment, viewer be warned, if you are worried about it getting sad, it's going to get worse. Like they would write teasers. Or
Yeah,
they'd be
and
like,
so
"Gee,
supposedly-
what will happen to Dumbo next?" It was like reading like serials of like Flash Gordon where it's like, tune in next week, or
yeah,
something
and
like that.
supposedly he ran into the story department at one point and was exclaiming
And
like
he's
how
like, "I
great
want-"
it was, and I want to know what happens next. And it's said to be his favorite film by the studio. So
It's funny because I've watched like 4 of these documentaries now, and I feel like everyone, especially there's this one artist who worked for Disney, I think, for a little bit. I want to look up more about him. His name is Eric Goldberg.
Yeah.
But he is always like, this one is the best one, and here's why. And then he's in the next documentary going, oh, here's why this one is such a Disney classic. And he's always got like interesting facts, but I'm like, I want to see your list. Like, which one is actually your favorite?
It's also the first Disney animated feature to be set in the United States, which is still in a small amount of them. Not very many are set in the United States. The other thing I found interesting, it's also the first animated feature to be set in the year it came out. So it's set in 1941. And the next movie to do that is 20 years later, 101 Dalmatians. So that's set in the year 1961, which that I never really put together. So I'm kind of excited when we get there to look at that. But I found that interesting because when you think of Disney movies, a lot of times they're not set in a real place or they're set somewhere different. So it being set not only in the United States, but in the year it came out, I found interesting.
One thing I wanted to bring up, because you mentioned Joe Grant, and I think both of you are going to find this pretty interesting. So Joe Grant, I want to get a book now on Joe Grant.
Yeah, because he was the story guy, one of the story men,
he started off, he was in charge of the model department, so making real models of like the Hag and Stromboli and stuff like that. And so then that department kind of became, well, you're in charge of like, you write the world Bible on what the character's like. And then he started doing stories. So he did this, he did some other ones for a while, and then I don't remember when, but I think it might have been the 50s or 60s, he retired. And then he came back and he worked on Pocahontas and Mulan and Fantasia 2000. And then he died, like, he was like 96, and they were interviewing his daughter and the thing, and she's like, oh yeah, he came home from work and died. Like, he loved doing this so much. He was like, I don't mean that'd be sad, like, but
yeah,
I mean, he was like,
that's really cool.
He fell asleep, like, and didn't wake up. He had, as far as I could tell, he died peacefully, but it was just like, and he wasn't like, oh, I have to work. He just loved doing this, and then he just died doing what he loved to do.
You hear that a lot, though, about big Disney names that retire. Who is it? Is it Bob Iger who keeps...
Michael Eisner. Bob Iger is the one who just came back as CEO.
Yes, but ones
so
that
you're thinking Bob Iger.
Yeah, Bob Iger who like keeps retiring and then keeps coming back for different reasons.
Yes. Well, COVID is a big reason.
He came back
Yeah, but he's had that happen once or twice before this too, right?
Maybe.
I don't remember, but
before we go into any more details, I want to ask both of you, do either of you remember, and I should have done more research on this, I just thought of it as we started recording. I'm going to look it up, but there was a live action Dumbo, like not the movie, but it was like a kid's show on Disney Channel.
It was he was a puppet.
Was it called Dumbo's or like he was like
it was like Dumbo's Circus, and he was a puppet. I don't remember much about it other than that.
Trying to remember. I remember liking it when I was a kid, but I'm wondering how like weird it looks now. Do you know what I'm saying?
It probably looks pretty weird.
Let's look.
I'd like to know who did the puppetry too, because Jim Henson wasn't a part of Disney back then.
So they had all these other characters. There was the lion that sold concessions, and then the koala who was like the ringmaster.
I don't remember. Yeah,
Yep. I remember that puppet. What years was that on?
Looks like
1985 to 86, so it wasn't very long. But it was like when you say puppets, it was kind of like the Banana Splits type puppets where they're like people in costumes, but they're moving around. And I very distinctly remember the Dumbo puppet did a really good elephant sway.
Well, and talking about elephant sways, you know me and loving a good segue. Did you know that real elephants were brought to the studio for the animators so they could sketch?
That was something they did. I didn't know they did that specifically.
Yeah, I know they do that a lot with different.
This might have been the first actual animal they brought in.
Yeah,
because Bambi's next. I know they looked at a lot of animal stuff for Bambi.
For Bambi, yeah. So they did the same thing with this. And then going back to Baby Mine, which we were talking about earlier with Melissa. They say it's one of the most remembered and regarded songs, although I feel like we've said that in every movie that there's been such iconic music. But
well, we are in the Disney Golden Age.
That's true.
Yeah. So a lot of these songs are going to be iconic. They've lasted at this point almost 100 years.
So I feel like, Tara, for Baby Mine, I don't know how well you remember movies, but like, have you seen the movie Beaches?
Yes.
So when they're doing the nursery for Bette Midler's friend, I can't remember what her name is,
Yeah.
Bette Midler is singing Baby Mine.
Yeah, so that's how I know the song. So when I was reading up on the song, I was like, oh, I know this song from something else, and I couldn't place the movie. So that was the movie. But it's been covered by a lot of people, and
Julie Andrews.
Yeah.
She's on one.
But the original vocals, and I'm not going to say her last name right, Betty Noyes. Noise. She dubbed 2 of Debbie Reynolds' songs for Singing in the Rain.
Oh.
So I found that interesting.
That's interesting because isn't the whole point of Singing in the Rain that Debbie Reynolds is dubbing for another character?
Plus,
Yeah.
I thought Debbie Reynolds could sing. She sings Tammy and Tammy.
Yeah, so I don't know. The fact I read, unless like that isn't accurate, but the fact I read said, yeah, she's dubbed 2 of Debbie Reynolds' songs, so I don't know why. I didn't get more info on that.
I'm a little upset that Melissa didn't assume I'd seen Beaches. She immediately asked you. And
Have you seen
no,
it?
I haven't seen
Yeah.
Beaches.
Oh, I thought maybe you had seen it, but if you saw it, I figured it was under duress and that you wouldn't remember it.
Here's the thing. There's like a genre of
I do
movies
love-
like that I'm like, oh, I can't want to see because of the very slight toxic masculinity I was brought up with. Mostly very good, but the
Divine Miss M is in it, and she's
yes,
fantastic.
but that's the thing. So it's a because now I love Bette Midler.
Yeah.
But I'm like, ugh, Beaches, that's for girls.
It's I don't love chick flicks, just to put that out there. I love that movie.
It's so good.
But you're going to cry.
Yeah.
But
you're
Dumbo's
stop.
going to make me cry, so whatever.
Yeah. And for this one too, with the song, we're always looking at the awards. This won for best scoring, but it did not win for best song for Baby Mine, which surprised a lot of people because it did win for the best overall score. And I think there was some drama with whatever won that year. Apparently, was a song from 1940, not 1941. So people were upset.
What?
How
Yeah, it was
dare
What?
something like it was something. Oh gosh, what was the movie now? Now I have to find it, but.
So I've got one more note I wanted to do.
Yeah, you go ahead while I
We'll
look
talk
up
a
that.
little bit more about this, but like we said earlier, I love the pink elephant scene. Like I think
Yeah.
do you remember we've talked about this on the podcast before, but do you remember DTV? Did you have Disney Channel at all?
We had it, and then we didn't always have it. So we had it some, but I don't remember DTV.
It was sometimes if like looking back, I think it was if they've aired something because they'd air it with like very few commercials. They do a few, but it was mostly just commercials to be like watch DuckTales
Yeah.
later and stuff like that. But so that sometimes meant they didn't have like the full block of time, so they'd have to have like 10-minute
Shorts.
shows.
Yeah.
So they did DTV and they do songs from Fantasia. I remember they did Pink Elephants every once in a while, or they do like pop songs with clips of cartoons
Okay.
underneath it. And I just remember Pink Elephants from that. So one of the reasons they did Pink Elephants was Salvador Dali and surrealism was big. And so they talked a lot about when we watch it to watch all the kind of like shapes like morphing into other shapes and becoming other things, and they'd be abstract circles and stuff, and then they'd become something else. But apparently Disney and Dali actually did a film together and he didn't finish it.
Oh.
And then they ended up finishing it in the 90s or something. I think Roy finished it like for him. And I haven't seen it. I forgot what it was called. It was Destino was what it was called. So that's something to look up. But I think when I put that together that this was a surrealist, I think I like surrealism a lot. And it's like kind of why I like Beetlejuice like backgrounds and kind of that aesthetic. And so when I heard that, I went, that's why I like this. So.
And then I did find it. So going back to the song, so Baby Mine lost to The Last Time I Saw Paris, which is from a movie Lady Be Good. And controversially, the winner was not actually an original song since it had been previously performed in 1940. So that was the drama behind it. Not that it was not an original song. And so I guess people...
But all those things you just said mean nothing to me. The name of the song, the name of whatever, the movie.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know
So-
anything about the movie or anything, but I find it interesting that it wasn't an original song and it won, since that's kind of what...
There's somebody
Usually-
listening to this in their 80s or 90s, and they're shaking their fist at the podcast.
Yes.
Because they know they hate that song and the controversy it created.
I know. It sounds like...
Either
there's a
that
lot
or
of
we
drama
just
back
proved
then,
that award shows mean nothing.
Well, the thing I thought was interesting is this is the one that was like, it was a story. So we have two fairy tales. We have kind of original but esoteric story for...
Yeah, Snow White is grim. Brothers Grimm.
We got an,
and then Pinocchio is an original Italian story.
Dumbo came out like 3 or 4 years before the movie came out. Like, Disney bought the rights for the stories immediately. And it was this very strange... The reason, like, you don't hear about it, or they even said the thing, it's almost impossible to find that story anymore, is it wasn't in a book. It was in something called a... What's it called? A spin-a-book? Roll-a-book.
A roll-up book.
And it's basically a box with, like, a scroll and 2, like,
I've seen
spinny
those.
things. Yeah, so that's what it was, is you spin it and it'd move to the next page.
And it was by Helen Aberson and Harold Pearl, and again, I might be mispronouncing
and they
her
never,
name, but
they didn't do anything after that. This was their one big thing.
Yeah, and then they I guess sold the rights to Disney, and then that was it.
They retired.
And was they were Americans? What was the?
Yes.
Okay.
This was out of. Well, I don't know if they were Americans. It was definitely published out of New York, and they talked about that a bit because they talk about how this movie kind of has a New York sensibility, and I look to you to see if you agree with that at the end of this.
I'll do my best. Yeah, after watching it, and yeah, she was born in. Okay, so Helen was born in Syracuse, New York.
Yeah, I think they might both.
And
be from
so
here.
I can look up Harold Pearl next, and then just see. But I would imagine if she was born in New York, he.
It's interesting that you said that it was an American one. They don't really make a big deal usually out of the origin that they're trying to portray, but I remember distinctly the train going through the letters of Florida. So when you watch it, you'll see the train, and it's like showing it like a map from the sky, and the train kind of weaves through the letters of Florida. At least that's what I remember.
Does this movie take place in Florida? Is there a Disney movie for Florida? That's so weird to me.
I don't know, but at least that part was in Florida because I remember the train.
Well, because that's where they deliver them. Because remember they're dropping all the babies.
Yep.
This is gonna be interesting for Tara to watch. So let's
let's go ahead with it.
Let's quit beating around the bush. Let's go check out the movie.
So we'll see you on the other side, listeners, and we may have an additional special guest when we come back.
Okay.
And we're back, and we have an additional special guest. Maggie, you want to say hi?
Hi.
This is Maggie, and she just watched the movie with us. How'd you like it, Maggie?
Fine.
Fine?
Dumbo can fly.
Yes.
So what was your favorite part?
I like the elephants dance.
You like the elephants dance?
Yeah.
Oh, the pink elephants on parade?
Yeah.
That's my favorite part too. Is this your first time you've seen it, or have you seen it before?
This is the first time I've seen it.
You've seen Dumbo before. Have you seen it before?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, earlier you told us that you liked all the jokes, and that was your favorite part of these movies. Do you remember a joke in it that you thought was really funny?
No.
Well, you don't remember a part you thought was funny?
Did you think the clowns were funny?
Oh, yeah.
You were laughing a lot during the clowns, weren't you?
Yeah, they're silly. Also, one clown, it was watering a flower, and it grew bigger.
It did.
Well, who is your favorite character?
I like the giraffe.
The
giraffes?
Yeah.
Did you like how that when they were on the train, their necks were sticking out? Yeah, I like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you guys think they really did that? I was wondering that.
I was wondering that. Probably not.
Because they did it in Indiana Jones,
Oh,
the
did
third
they?
one.
Okay.
Then maybe they did. Yeah, I don't
That
know.
seems unsafe.
Well, I think circus is in the 30s.
What did you think of the magic feather? Was it really magic?
No. He can fly by his own.
That's right. He had to figure it out for himself, right?
Yeah, because his ears grow bigger.
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 Awesome.
I can't believe that happened.
I know. It's crazy when that happened. He was so close to falling, right?
Yeah, but they saw him shoot out those peanuts. It's raining.
I know. It was raining peanuts. He was shooting them all at those elephants who weren't very nice to him, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you
You have a joke?
Okay,
Yes.
give it to us.
What's this? What do you call a sleeping dinosaur?
What do you call a sleeping dinosaur?
I don't know.
A dinosaur.
She's
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any other questions for
Maggie,
Maggie?
did you have a favorite song?
I like the never seen the elephant fly one.
Oh, yeah. I've never seen an elephant fly with the crows. That was my favorite, too.
Yeah. One crow is fat.
Yep, one
Yep.
crow was fat.
All right.
I want one more joke.
Okay, one
Okay.
more joke, and then
Give
we'll,
it to us.
You can tell the one about the skunk sandwich. That one was funny.
Well, no.
Okay, no, okay.
What's this jellyfish's favorite friend?
What's a jellyfish's favorite friend?
I don't know.
A peanut butter fish.
There you go.
That's a good one, too. I
All
like that
right.
one.
Good job.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Maggie.
Well,
Well, I really enjoyed watching it with Maggie.
I
It
did
was fun
too.
to hear
We
her
were-
laugh at parts and like ask questions, and I really enjoyed it.
we were talking about we need to watch it with more people's kids now.
Yeah, she watched it pretty good. I think we're lucky it was an hour long and not 2 hours of Fantasia that I don't think she would have ever made it through.
Yeah.
Right.
But to start, the credits are in the beginning, which we noticed from Snow White, and so I always think it's fun to kind of see how they design the credits. And with this one, what was really cool is all the credits were in circus posters, which I really liked. I thought
And that was something I
cool.
talked about at the beginning, was they thought that was like built-in marketing, was they didn't have to decide how they were going to do anything. They're just like, oh yeah, do it like circus poster.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maggie liked the strongman one.
Oh, yeah,
I
that was
did
the
too, all the
animator.
enemies.
Her, she
Yeah.
flexing her muscles.
That's great. And then it is set in Florida, right? So we were curious about that, and it seems to be that they were driving all through Florida on the train, right?
I don't know. Did it go further north? Because
It may have gone into Georgia. Yeah, it was kind of unclear, but
it
because
for
they
sure
stopped
starts
showing
there.
it. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's. I was interested thinking about it because obviously all of this is before Disney's interest in Florida for Walt Disney World. Like Walt Disneyland hasn't even opened at this
Yeah,
point.
this is well
Yeah.
before that.
But I am wondering, because Florida is kind of known for, like, going to see different kinds of exotic animals, even before...
That's a very nice way
Carol
of being
Baskin.
like.
Even before Tiger King, but like, so I'm wondering if back in the 40s, if it was still, I don't know, like, was it known as a place to go to see like the alligators or crocodile? What is it? Alligators, crocodiles in Florida?
Gators.
Gators. To see like different kinds of animals like that. I don't know. It might have nothing to do with it, but that was my first thought when I saw it was in Florida. I was like, oh, well, that kind of makes sense. But granted, this was in the 40s, so I don't know.
So we start this movie off with everybody getting delivered.
Yeah, and I loved your comment that all the parents seem really surprised that they're getting getting
Oh.
animals.
Yeah, they did. They all seemed surprised, except for Dumbo's mom, who's waiting very patiently for her package that doesn't arrive.
I know,
And-
which is so sad.
This movie, I think by the end it has a good ending, but there's a lot of moments where I was like, this is very sad. And I'm wondering
Yeah.
if that's maybe why I didn't like this movie so much. I remember there were parts that I really enjoyed, but I never wanted to sit down and watch this whole thing start to finish.
Like I said, when we started watching it, I was like, guys, this is like a whole new movie for me. Like, I remembered nothing, which was kind of fun because I don't know that will happen with a lot of the Disney movies we watch when it comes to the classics, because I know them so well. So that was interesting for me. And I liked, Melissa, you mentioning it very much like an Ugly Duckling story.
Yes.
Which it pretty much, I mean, it follows that kind
Yeah.
of a storyline to it. And
he
then we
was-
have some famous voices in here, and we'll start with the stork.
So there's another stork. So they kind of present the storks as like the old way we used to look at the post office of like through.
Yeah, through sleet and snow and
I
rain.
almost keep wanting to do the Green Lantern oath instead of the
Oh,
the
through
post
brightest
office.
day and darkest
Yeah,
night.
that one. I'm like, no, wait, that's the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
But Then they have the one who's a little late, who seems to take more care in his job.
He was so prideful. Like, he made sure he was dropping it off in the right place and looking on the map. And then he sings happy birthday. He's very attentive.
And let me look up the name of that actor, but it's definitely the actor who originally did
Winnie the Pooh's voice. So that was one of the famous voices. And then we have another one coming up,
Did he also do Tigger? I think whoever did Pooh also did Tigger. But I could be wrong on that one.
I have...
Sterling Holloway.
Okay. And did he do the voice of Tigger as well?
He's in Winnie the Pooh. Clint Howard was Roo.
I don't know who that is.
I don't either.
Ron Howard's brother, who's in like a bunch of his stuff.
Oh, well, yeah, I do know who that is.
Interesting.
He's just Winnie the Pooh. Tigger is a different actor, it says.
Oh, okay.
Maybe now they're the same ones. Maybe it's Jim.
Maybe.
I think Jim Sterling is in now. He was also Caw the Snake in the Jungle Book,
Yes.
the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland, and Roquefort in the Aristocats, who I don't remember. So we'll figure out who that is together.
Yeah.
You have someone you were very excited
so
to
pumped.
learn.
So when we heard the gossipy elephant, so basically Dumbo gets delivered, and they think he's so cute until his ears pop out. And then he's got these really big ears, and these gossipy elephants reminded me of old women in an assisted living who gossip. Because I used to work full-time as an activities director, and I wrote that down, like, they're very catty, and that's what they remind me of, like, just picking on every little thing.
Which is like a revert to the Mean Girls from high school.
Yeah, yes, very similar to that.
It was funny because at first I thought of them kind of like the Golden Girls, because there was one that was a little more like ditzy than the other ones. I'm like, oh, that's Betty White.
Yeah.
Like if they remade this like with they already remade it, but if they had like noise, I would be like, Betty White's got to play the one who's like kind of out of it.
The one gossipy elephant, I couldn't place her voice. I was like, I think Cinderella. I think
Lady and the Tramp.
Lady and the Tramp is what I said, and I finally found her name. She's the matriarch elephant, so she's the one in the purple and gold headdress.
Tara couldn't identify which other movie she was from, and the answer was all of them.
All of them. Well, I identified those other two movies, and then I looked it up. Verna Felton is her name. She first appears as in Dumbo, and then she's the fairy godmother in Cinderella. She's the Queen of Hearts in Alice in Wonderland. And that's the voice that I think I heard, and I was like, what is this? She's Aunt Sarah in Lady and the Tramp.
I don't know who
and
that
then
is.
in Sleeping Beauty, she's Flora. She's the Red Fairy. And then in the Jungle Book, she's Winifred the Elephant.
Oh,
and that's her final role that she does. So her voice, all three of us said she had a very familiar voice. We knew she was in something else, but I thought it was really interesting that she was in a lot of very famous roles.
Yeah. I had two thoughts about the voice acting. The first one was I don't think back when Disney started, they didn't have like a big name. I don't remember when that really started, where they would get famous actors to play.
Well, we talked a little bit about this in the Pinocchio episode, and Jiminy Cricket was like the first famous person
who was
they
kind
had.
of a famous
but he was just like a famous vaudeville actor. Like he had like a ukulele gimmick or something, and that was it. So he's not someone. I think he's
not like The Rock.
He's transcended since then because of
Well,
Jiminy
and
Cricket.
it looks like even with this woman, with what did I say her name was? I
Verna?
wrote it down. Verna. She, it looks like, made a career being voices in Disney movies. She was also in other films as well. If I Had It My Way, I don't know any of these movies. The Fuller Brush Man, Bells on Their Toes, a stage play called Picnic, but it seems like she's most known for all the voices she goes on to do in Disney.
I think they developed like a stable of actors because we got, like I said, Winnie the Pooh here.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in high school, we watched 12 Angry Men, and one of the the movie with is it Henry Fonda?
Yeah, I think so.
And one of them is Piglet. Obviously, it's not the character Piglet, but it's the guy who does the Piglet voice, and it's so hard because he's like, oh, I just don't know how to vote. And I'm like, oh, what is Piglet doing in this movie?
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to unhear it, yeah.
The other thing that I noticed about the voices is the main character, and I guess his mom would kind of be a main character. They never speak.
Yes.
She has one line. She goes, Jumbo Jr.
Oh,
and
you're
that's
right.
it.
Yeah, and that was one of my trivia facts that I didn't really want to mention, that, like, he's the first No, I'm glad you mentioned it because I forgot about it. He's the first protagonist to have no spoken dialogue.
Maybe some hiccups.
Maybe some hiccups, yeah, but no, I found that really interesting that he doesn't talk.
It's
at
kind
all.
of a
Timothy's not his voice, but like I feel like because
he's
Timothy,
this hype man.
Yeah, he's his hype man. And because Timothy talks so much, you don't really need, I guess, Dumbo's voice.
Yeah.
But it is interesting.
And one thing that I noticed just watching it with Maggie, because movies now are very different than that movie. There's a lot of stuff that's very visual, like when Dumbo's mom's giving him a bath and they're just kind of playing together. She loved that part. She was like giggling and she thought it was funny when he was pulling her tail. And there is no dialogue. Like it's all just like a quiet moment.
Well, because I feel like a lot of this is the step they're coming from is a lot of stage acting. At that point, I think you're having to do like vaudeville and mime and even like clown school type stuff to kind of get your point across. Like big physical things to play to the back of the theater.
Yeah, that's true.
Cases.
Yeah, I think that made it harder when he loses his mom because like you've seen that tender, real mom-kid moment.
Yeah, he's connected with, like, they're very connected from moment one. Also, because she immediately, when all the gossipy elephants, she takes that peg and lowers the wood door and, like, hits them all in the face.
Yeah, they all act like they didn't do anything wrong. I'm like, you just told this mom her newborn baby's ugly.
You go from being he's the cutest little boy to, like, and then they nickname him Dumbo. So he's Jumbo Jr., until they all start making fun of him.
That's a good trivia question. What's Dumbo's real name?
Yeah.
I was going to point out one thing. When Dumbo shows up, I thought Dumbo, the character, is so cute.
Yeah.
Like, they do such a good animating him. The guy who animated him beforehand had done Chernabog on Fantasia.
Oh, interesting.
And it
Such a different character.
Yeah, they talk about, he did somebody else, I think, Stromboli. He did Stromboli and Chernabog, two very dark characters, and he was in charge of Dumbo, and he just
He had a really light touch with Dumbo.
Yeah, it's so good.
Which worked really well. So the next song that potentially is problematic in the next scene is Work All Day and Work All Night.
Now, I remember that song, and I loved it. But I just liked like the percussion of it.
Yeah.
When all of those characters...
All the characters are African-American setting up the circus. That and the elephants. The elephants are the workers, and the tigers and the lions are so lazy, just sleeping in their cage. But, yeah, pretty much it's the camels, the elephants, and the African-Americans setting up the circus.
And it's crazy because there's no other black people in this movie. I mean, the crows, we'll get to the crows, but, like, they appear just to help set up the circus. And you were pointing out, like, I used to like this song, but what was the line you were saying?
I'm old now, and I watch everything with subtitles on. And because there's lots of background noise in my house. So I had the subtitles on, and I have never known all the lyrics to that song. And it said something about we work all day to get our pay, and then something about we throw our pay away.
Yeah, we throw all our money away.
See if I can find the lyrics.
Some of the things we talk about with this, sometimes we started to talk about is like, do we think this holds up for kids? And we watched it with Maggie. Like, were you nervous during it? Like, she's gonna...
She doesn't pick up on stuff like that. And
yeah, I was going to say, like, that kind of stuff I feel like is us picking up on it and potentially reading into it. Not reading into it, but, like,
noticing
it out.
I think when you're a kid...
We notice
like...
it because we're adults, and... Honestly, like, a lot more of that stuff sticks out since I live in a more liberal area now. I grew up in a very conservative area.
I don't think that excuses it, but at the same time, like, we're kind of coming through this of the lens of, like, I think you're probably going to be okay letting your kid watch this.
Yeah, and if nothing else, it's a teachable moment, too.
Yeah.
You know,
if she was to pick up on it.
Yeah.
Let's three white people discuss the.
I know. It's I don't. Yeah, but she.
As always, our opinions are just that. They are our opinions. So.
So.
What are you looking at with a dog?
That's just an advertisement. Oh. So, the name of the song is not "Work All Day, Work All Night." It's the song of the Roustabouts. Roustabouts is the like official title.
You look at that. I'm gonna look up what that word means and see if we should bleep it.
And it's we work all day, we work all night. We never learn to read or write.
Oh yeah,
we're happy-hearted roustabouts.
Yeah.
And then it goes, when other folks have gone to bed, we slave until we're almost dead. We're happy-hearted roustabouts. Again, I think I'm saying that word right.
I don't like the word slave in there.
Yeah. We don't know when we get our pay, and when we do, we throw our pay away. So there's the line you picked up on.
Yeah.
We get our pay when children say, with happy hearts, it's circus day today. then there's like an echo. Then we get our pay just watching kids on circus day. Muscles aching, back near breaking, eggs and bacon, what we need. Yes, sir, is like a echo. Boss man houndin', keep on poundin' for your bed and feet. There ain't no let up, must get set up, pull that canvas, drive that stake, want to doze off, get them clothes off, but must keep awake.
Now here's the
And then
thing.
there's another verse too.
Here's the thing.
But that's the gist of it.
The definition of roustabout is an unskilled or casual laborer. So if this had just been a group of like mixed race people, like including white people, I think the words wouldn't have made it would just been like, oh, they're just.
But they're like they're.
But I never learned. But I've never learned to read or write, and I throw my pay away.
Yeah,
and they
that
basically
part I
make it
don't
sound too
love.
like their pay is just the kids' joy because basically they're working for their feed and their bed. It's problematic.
They're either traveling with the circus or they were hired. They live there, and it's just like.
We could change the ethnicity of the workers, cut the lyrics of that song, and that scene would play just as well.
Have an instrumental of that. Yeah, because the rhythm, I'm with you. The rhythm was great.
What I was
the way
basically...
that he used the hammer to go in beat with I loved that.
Yeah.
Because I was basically lobbying for classism over racism, I guess.
Yeah.
So, which is, in my opinion, maybe a step up. But
So yeah, those lyrics are definitely problematic. So we go through that, and now you get to... the kids making fun of Dumbo. And you pointed out that they all look like Lambie. And not any of them are like...
Do you remember Lambert from Pinocchio, his buddy in Pleasure Island?
Yeah, he's the one that gets turned into the donkey first,
yes,
right?
Yeah. And the other thing is, too, is, like, not to, like, poke fun of them, but none of them were very handsome either. Melissa mentioned that. Yeah, the
weirdest looking kid's like, hey, check out his ears.
Yeah,
it's like, all right,
the
buddy.
kid with ears that are sticking out so far.
I understand
really
orthodontics.
Deflecting. The one who's the bully is really just trying to make fun of someone else because he's afraid he's going to get made fun of.
I understand dental orthodontics hadn't been around much in the 40s, but that kid needed some braces.
Yeah.
Step one.
He kind of looks like the mean kid from A Christmas Story.
Oh,
that redhead
yeah.
kid that beats the tar. Yeah.
Yeah. So they all start making fun of Dumbo, and then Mrs. Jumbo is not having it. His mom goes into a rage.
Well, she just spanks the one kid.
With her trunk.
Yes.
And then they start doing horribly animal cruelty things to her.
Yes.
Well, okay. I don't want to sit here and defend animal cruelty. She did throw a bale of hay at them, which is a big weapon. And then, like, I don't know what else they're going to do. Like, circuses in general suck when it comes to this.
Yes,
but I don't know how you stop a rape-edging elephant. Yeah.
And Melissa made a good observation with her eye color, how that changes, how they're blue and then they go to red, which, just lets you know that, like, she is not happy. And so then they lock her away. They, like, chain her up and lock her in her own
well, the mean elephants call it solitary confinement. Like, there's a lot of stuff in here that's, like, very over the head of children.
Yeah.
And the elephant sway is so sad.
Oh, yeah. They cut to her, and she's in there, and they've got, like, the shadows on her look like stripes, and they cut to Dumbo kind of doing the same sway. And the older elephants decide to, like, ostracize him.
Yeah, and they say something about, I have here trunk full of dirt. Like, they get real mean about both the mom and Dumbo, and they basically are just like, don't let him hear you. And they close him out of the circle.
Which, how could he not hear you? He's got those big ears.
But then that's when what Ryan calls blue-collar Jiminy Cricket comes in, which is Timothy.
Well, I read he's like kind of the opposite of Jiminy Cricket, and Jiminy Cricket was like, you can't be in show business, Pinocchio. And now, like, Timothy's like, we're gonna be the stars of the show.
Yeah, he's the hype man. But he scares all the elephants. So he runs around and scares all the elephants because he sees them being mean to Dumbo.
We should look this up and post it on the Facebook group, but where does the, like, origin of elephants being afraid of a mouse?
Yeah,
I wonder if it's like an Aesop fable or something. Because, like, there's one of those where there's a mouse and a lion.
Yeah, and he pulls the thorn out of the lion's paw.
Yeah.
I wonder. That's a good...
We'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
So then...
He goes and he's like, we're going to make you a star. I don't care about yours.
And he whispers to the circus leader, right?
That part was great. He crawls into the circus leader's... Oh, so he crawls in the ringmaster's tent and is like, you should use Dumbo. But when he's doing it, and I was talking earlier about how they used kind of the old German I want to say it's not impressionism, but I'll figure out the names of the specific film that use a lot of shadows. And then when Timothy's coming in the room, he has that big scary shadow.
His shadow
on the wall
almost looks like a person.
There's a movie called Nosferatu, which is like one of the first big Dracula stories, but they couldn't use Dracula, so they named him something else. And there's this whole scene where it's like his shadow's on the wall, and the shadow like comes over her heart, and he like does that, and it's this scary shadow, and it looks exactly like that. And that's why people are like, that's where they got this shadow stuff from, is they're paying homage to that.
Oh, that's interesting. You wouldn't think that Disney would be pulling things from Nosferatu.
It's crazy what they talked about in this documentary about all the stuff. Like, they had just like a big stage on campus, and they'd have people come in and show movies. Or there was one we did from Fantasia where they just had a ballerina come in and just dance, and they all just drew her. Or that's, I think, probably where they...
With the elephant.
I don't know if they brought the elephant on stage, but they were like very big on like, we're an art studio. All we do is animation
and
at this point.
Trying to imitate
there's no
real life.
merchandising. There's no Disneyland. There's nothing like that to back up on. So they're like, it's almost like Google now, or any of like, Apple probably does this too, where they're like, they have people come in and just give like keynotes and things like that. But I know like Google does stuff like that where they bring in like guest speakers to have like talks about that sort of thing. I think that's what Disney used to do.
I'm curious too, like, I'm sure it's like with any other kind of art, when you think of creative people, I'm sure animators also use personal influences in their work. So I wonder too if like they were a fan of that Dracula movie that you were talking about.
Well, that I know for a fact they brought those movies. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is a similar horror movie around that era, was viewed at Disney, is what they said in this thing.
I know that they still did that even as far as for The Lion King. Because there's pictures of animators hanging out with lions.
So yeah, I like that they do that. I think it brings a realness, even if it's something that's animated and more fictional.
So then they have the big act they're going to do with Dumbo.
Yeah, with all the elephants climbing on top of one another. And the one thing I do like is I like that the elephants don't care who they're catty with, because they're catty to the ringleader and they're catty to each other. So at least like they're consistent.
I did like that they were like, he's talking like he's going to do this. Like, I don't know why I felt a real kinship to that. I don't have a boss like this right now, but I have had leads and bosses like this in the past where it's like, this is going to happen, then we're going to do this. And I'm like, you're going to do zero of the work to make this happen, aren't you?
Yeah, I liked that. And they were like fat shaming each other.
Yeah, about the one.
She's like, you're no
cream puff.
Yeah. But yeah, so they're all being catty, and then you can all see them sweat because they don't really know what's happening next. Like, usually the act is them all standing on one another, and then he talks about Dumbo coming out.
That's the thing. Is that a usual act? That's insane.
I was wondering
that
if
never has happened. I've seen ones where like one elephant, like they kind of like all stand.
Or something?
Well, yeah, or they all put their. And I went to I spent a month in Southeast Asia. In college, and I swear to God, every place in Thailand we went, we're like, another elephant show, and it was like, okay, but yeah. So Dumbo
is scared to go out. Timothy's trying to build up his confidence, and he's like, all you gotta do is run.
Shoves a nail into his butt.
Yeah, all you gotta do is run and jump on this springboard and make it all the way up to the top.
Yeah.
And they've never practiced it, and so he uses a nail.
Hey, man, that was how Sin Cara got into the ring.
Okay.
He jump off and jump over the top rope. Yeah, that's wrestling. I like wrestling. Did you know that?
I did. The listeners probably don't.
They do now.
So he sticks a pin in his butt, basically, to get him going. And poor Dumbo trips over his ears and basically knocks in. I don't know if he knocks into the ball, but he knocks into the elephants. And they're all sweating and nervous as it is.
Yeah.
And then they go flying everywhere and basically ruin the whole circus.
But then we cut to... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I always thought they were sweating because of...
They
each have an elephant.
So I started noticing the sweat when they were like waiting for him to be done. Like they were waiting for the ringleader to be done, and like Dumbo wasn't coming out. But yeah, maybe they were sweating the whole time. I'm not sure.
Then we cut to the scene where it's all the elephants are hurt, and they vote him out of being an elephant.
Yeah. They vow that he's no longer an elephant because he has to be made a clown, and
Which I think is another representation of what I keep talking about, where it's Walt Disney's views on show business and like where clowns fall in that hierarchy.
yeah. But I do like the bandages. The one elephant has a stake on her eye, which I thought was really funny.
Maggie said, "Why does she have beef on her face?"
Yeah, it was really funny. And
Beef on your face sounds like you're embarrassed. Oh man, I got beef,
got beef
on my face.
Yeah. And I also mentioned that I like that the train feels like a character.
Casey Jr.?
Yeah.
Well, he's got a
I mean,
name.
he's got a name, but like he very much is like pushing the story forward. And then the I think I can, the reference to the little engine that could in the beginning when he's trying to go up the big hill, and he looks like a person, like the front of him looks like a face. And so we kind of...
And the weather matches the mood, too, right? Because like, after he becomes a clown, it shows it's raining and like the train looks sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and we open up the story with rain when everyone's getting animal babies except for Dumbo's mom.
Yeah.
So it opens that way, too, kind of setting the mood.
So since we're talking about Casey Jr., I'd like to go off on a little tangent for a little bit. Because Casey Jr., the Casey Jr. circus train is one of the rides at Disney World.
Oh.
And I wanted to talk about this, and then, you know, we kind of skipped. Apparently there's a Pinocchio ride. I don't think I've ever been on the Pinocchio ride, but we missed that. I don't know if there's a Fantasia ride.
Oh, there's a Pinocchio. Yeah,
it's like a dark ride.
I don't know. Is it a ride? There's a restaurant.
I swear I saw a ride. It might be
could be at a different
park.
park.
Hey guys, we're going to start posting videos of all these rides once we start getting into them. But the Dumbo ride. I forgot about the Dumbo ride.
Oh my gosh, yes.
There's
that was
two now.
Ooh, what's the other one?
They're the same, but they have them side by side now since they redid Fantasyland.
Oh, so just to like cut down on
more people can do it, and they've updated the queue. The queue's real cute.
Because I feel like it's one of those ones that I look at and I'm like, I could ride this ride anywhere. In fact, Disney has a couple different versions of this ride.
Yeah.
But I will stay in line at Fantasyland
ride
to go on the
Dumbo. That was one
ride.
of my favorites as a kid. I'm glad you mentioned the Dumbo ride because I loved going on that as a child.
I think the teacups is one of those for a lot of people, but for me, it's the Dumbo ride.
I can't do spinning. Even as a kid, I couldn't do spinning stuff.
Don't do spinning. But yeah, I love the Dumbo ride. Is Casey Jr. really it's not at Disney World.
It's a Disneyland ride, and it's just a train.
And does it just go around the park, or is it...
Well, I've got some POV videos I can send out. I think it just goes around.
So we'll have to post it.
I think it's the one they talk about on Podcast The Ride where they're always trying to get... We could be in, like, the monkey cage, or the, you know, there's different... Depending on which car you're in, it's a different theme.
Got it.
That's cool.
So the next part of the movie I thought was some of the coolest animation was all the shadows of the clowns undressing. Like, it was really fun to see, like, the one deflate his outfit and, like, he looked really big, but he was really skinny.
Yeah.
And, like, the way that
the one that was two guys, and the top guy, like, jumped out of the pants, and the other guy, like, crawled out.
Yeah, like, there were a lot of intricate details in the clowns, like, undressing and, like, talking about their performance, and then wanting to put Dumbo even higher up, and how, like, they're gonna get a raise because of this, and the crowd loved them, and they look at it more like them, but the crowd was really, it was about Dumbo.
Yeah.
So it was just interesting that the clowns were like, this is our ticket, and we're gonna, like...
Well, they immediately start drinking.
Yes, and they start drinking and cheersing each other that they did such a good job.
Out of their shoes. And they're very...
Yes.
They're very
That was so weird.
insensitive.
Pour it in my shoe.
Pour it in my shoe.
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pour it in my slipper. He says slipper.
Yeah. So as they're starting to drink, before they, like, go off to march about, like, they want to talk to the ringleader about their new idea, Dumbo goes to visit his mom, which is, like, very tender but also very sad, but that's where Baby Mine is played. And I like that they show all the animals in Baby Mine, that it starts with Dumbo and his mom, but I like that they show all the, like, animal children.
Yeah.
It's a very cute song.
It's kind of like a knife in the heart, though, a little bit, because it's like, here's all the things you can't do with your baby.
That's true.
Well,
Yeah, that's a good
Melissa
point.
immediately picked up her daughter Maggie and put her in her lap. And was
No,
holding her
she
and crying. That's
climbed
what
on
happened.
my lap.
Who do you believe, folks? Me or Melissa?
The other thing I mentioned about the clowns is one of them was holding a trumpet with their foot when they flash back to the clowns. So after Baby Mine happens, one is, like, holding a trumpet with his foot, and then they're bathing.
Implying that he was playing it with
I
his
don't
feet?
know. I think he was just holding it, and then they're like scrubbing in like a bathtub, it looks like. So there's a lot of things like that, but that's when they all march off about the raise and they throw one of the bottles of, I guess, champagne.
Yeah. But they're
It's
also
gotta be cheap champagne. They're clowns.
Well,
Come on.
yeah, but
they're
and they
real
throw it
they're
into the
real
water.
insensitive about Dumbo then too. Because
Yes.
he's like, what if there's one voice of reason that says, what if he gets hurt?
Yeah, or what if he's scared? Or yeah, there is one clown that is like on Dumbo's side, and the rest of them kind of talk him out of that. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
I'm
Because
wondering
they
if
have
he's
no
on
feelings.
Dumbo's side.
They're
Oh, go
made
ahead,
out
I'm
of
sorry.
rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if he's on Dumbo's side or if he's just like, what if we hurt our paycheck?
Yeah, either way, at least there was someone like trying
Yeah.
to speak up for Dumbo. But that's when they throw the alcohol into the bucket of water and they go
that's
on their way.
When we get the best sequence in
Yes.
the entire movie.
So the other thing I noticed, and this happens a
good.
couple times in the movie, is I like that Dumbo holds Timothy's tail like all the elephants hold their tails when they walk. Like he does that a
Oh,
couple
yeah.
times, but he does it here. And he has the hiccups, and Melissa knows this. I think we've talked about this with this group.
Tara likes to scare me when I have the hiccups.
I don't know if you knew that or not.
Oh, no.
But
The way she does it is she just looks right at me and then goes, "Ha!" And it's like, why did that scare you? But I'm not thinking about it. Because I trust my wife implicitly
But
to just
ask him-
yell at me out of no reason.
ask him if the hiccups stop.
It works every time.
It works
she
every
goes,
time.
I gotcha.
So in our house, what we do is if someone has the hiccups, you look at them and you say, prove it. Like, you know they have the hiccups. You saw them do it, and you look at them, and you're like, do you have the hiccups? And they go, yeah. And then you go, prove it. And it's a psychological thing
Interesting.
from my kid in her AP psych class. And it works because your body will suddenly be like, it won't do it because someone said, prove it.
Ooh,
That's
I
how
like
my
that.
dad used to solve it when I was growing up. Is he goes, "I'll give you $10 if you hiccup again." And like, I think if Kimberly did it, she'd probably demand $10. But I was like, huh, but I also couldn't do it. Almost sounded like, huh, 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 huh. I couldn't do it.
But so Dumbo gets the hiccups, and so Timothy goes over to encourage him to drink water, right? That's how he gets
To drink the
the
tub of water where
bucket.
the champagne's been
Yes,
dropped in.
Yeah.
At which point, you know, what always happens when you drink is they start hallucinating.
Of course, yes. But Dumbo's face turns bright red. In Pinocchio, he turned green.
Yeah.
Pinocchio was smoke, though.
Yes.
Yeah, but so Dumbo's face turns bright red, and then he starts burping like Dopey with the soap bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded me of that a little bit. But I do like that Dumbo doesn't go on this experience alone, that Timothy drinks with him. So, like, they're drunk together.
I love when Timothy's having like all the fun with the bubbles, and the one bubble comes up that has his reflection on it, and he goes, "Hello, George."
Yeah, he goes, "Hiya, George."
Who's George?
No clue.
Yeah, so that's another one that was, even though Pink Elephants was my favorite part, I had no idea why they were seeing
Oh,
pink elephants as a kid. Like, it's if you don't have the context of, oh, they're drunk, or maybe it was absinthe, who knows? Like,
Yeah.
huh.
You don't have any idea. It's just this very weird sequence in the middle of a movie. Like,
Yeah. I think I knew they got drunk.
I have no
I don't know, or they
no
were drinking.
remembering.
I don't know.
memory.
you
I
must
can't
have grown
really-
up in a house where people drank.
Yes.
I guess that could be part of it
My
too.
parents
but
do not drink at all.
Yeah.
That's probably part of it.
For me, it was very reminiscent of Heffalumps and Woozles.
Yes.
Like that immediately.
Also one of my favorites.
Yeah, immediately when it started up. And I liked how there were different styles of music. There were a couple different styles of music in there that I thought were really fun. And obviously all the colors were super fun. And I went down a rabbit hole, and I'll have to post something about it, about where the phrase pink elephant comes from. And it's referenced in writing in like
Yeah.
1800s, and different writers have used it as a way to hallucinate. I mean, it means when you're drunk and you start
Do you
seeing
know that?
things.
Do you know that beer Delirium Tremens or whatever it is?
Yeah, and they're
There's a pink elephant on the front of that, and it's something about chasing the pink elephant. or
yes,
something.
yeah.
I've seen it in other cartoons where I think there's one where like Donald starts seeing, or somebody starts seeing a pink elephant. Yeah.
So that whole sequence happens, and I was one of my favorites. It was great.
It's like
I-
a mini Fantasia
Yes.
in a
Yes,
lot of
it's-
ways.
Yeah.
Well, I love when they start marching around the border of the screen,
Yeah.
and like Dumbo's just following them. Like
Yeah.
he, like the closest they come to going like, "You're in a movie now, kid." Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Do we want to move on to the next big section that we're going to talk about, which is the crows?
Well, Dumbo's hangover.
Yeah, Dumbo's hangover, basically. So Dumbo and Timothy. Timothy's eyes, he looks hungover. Dumbo looks okay when he wakes up. Timothy
wake up in a tree.
is rough. They wake up in a tree. And I wrote, how did they get there? Because I assumed
Forgot
he
the
flew,
point of
but
this movie.
yeah. But I was like, how did they get up in that tree? Because
That's
again,
what the crows want to know.
Yeah, the
It's
crows want to know the
so
same
amazing
thing.
watching a movie with Tara because it is she just goes on an emotional journey that the filmmaker wants her to go on.
Yeah,
Like I
usually
remember
follow
when we saw Jaws together. I have a couple of moments I remember being very distinct moments when I realized how much I love seeing a movie with Tara. The first one was we were watching Winter Soldier the other night, and she goes, "Do you think people were surprised when they first saw this and they found out that the Winter Soldier was Bucky?" And I looked at her, I go, "You were shocked." You were like, what? Like, she legitimately in the theater went, what?
Yeah.
And then we were watching Jaws, like, any shot of the water, she's just, like gripping my arm a little harder. It's so fun watching a movie with Tara.
That's funny.
But yeah, the crows, I know we're going to talk about the crows a bit. They're mean at first. Like, they're poking fun of both Timothy and Dumbo and, like, how they get up in this tree. And they're kind of, like, hemming and hawing about everything. And I don't know if you want to go into their portrayals or what you really want to talk about, because they were all voiced by African-American actors. But as Ryan pointed out, this is really the only kind of work African-American actors were getting at this time. If they were in the world of acting, and vaudeville was kind of a parody of themselves. Well, is I guess the nicest way to say it. I don't know that really describes it.
Depiction is the joke is like, look at this dumb African American, and it's like, that's not good.
See, I always felt like they were smarter. Just to be honest, like I always felt like they were smarter than Timothy and Dumbo because they figured out how they got into the tree, and those other guys were too stupid to realize it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, what I read is there were two very strong opinions about the crows from people in general. Historians saying the portrayal being racist and offensive, and then your opinion, Melissa, which is that they were very smart and progressive in some ways with how they were thinking about, like, getting Dumbo to fly and, like, the way that they were doing all of that. So there is a back and forth, I think.
Some things so first of all, they brought in a African-American vaudeville duo to dance. This sounds awful, but like since we said that they also brought other people in to dance from, no, they brought in some African Americans to dance for them. Hooray! No, they brought them in, and it was like a duo, and they did a lot of reference for them. The scene where it's the two crows and they come together,
and they make one body. I love
so
that.
That was a bit that group did where they came together, put their arms around each other, and it looked like they were dancing with three legs. And the animators went, we can take that one further because it's the realm of animation. We can make it literally look like you're melding for a second.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of back and forth of like, show us some of your act and we'll incorporate it into this. I think, okay, two things I think you could remove from the crows, and I think they'd be fine, is revoice them. Like, if you brought in new African-American actors and just had them be African-American and not be like, hee-haw, and have that real thick accent, I think it'd be fine. And get rid of that one cigar. I think if
I
you
didn't
wanted,
mind the cigar.
No, I'm saying like if you wanted to like do something
I guess
with it.
Now in this world of
the smoking is way less of an issue than the voices, I think, than the portrayal.
Yeah.
But like you made a point, their song is like the best
Their
song.
song's the best song. It was my favorite. I know it was Maggie's favorite. It's my favorite song, and
the lyrics are really funny.
I like the rhythm to it, and I like that Timothy. I wrote here, Timothy takes them to church. Like, they call him...
well, they say
Reverend,
that.
Yeah, they call him Reverend Rodent, but he makes them feel sympathy for Dumbo and tells Dumbo's story and is like, you're making fun of this poor orphan, and goes into, like, what's happened to him up to this point, and then they literally say, we've seen the light. And I like that you see that change, that now they want to help Dumbo, and they do feel bad, and they don't want to be making fun of somebody who's down and out. And I like that theme.
I think they're like representing, I think they're good characters. I think they're representing a time and an art form that did not view these type of characters in a great light. I think they're representative of that. But I don't think like, do you know what I'm saying?
But
like,
watching
to me,
that, I don't know that you necessarily get that.
But here,
so I think both things can be true, because what I think is true is that historically, in what was actually happening in the world, is what Ryan said. They
Yes.
were only getting these certain kind of jobs. But in the movie, I definitely think, first of all, Maggie's not going to look at that and think anything other than those are birds.
Those crows are
Exactly.
weird.
She doesn't put people behind them, which is fine. She's 5. And because of that, I think they're talking about psychology. They're using psychology on him, and those characters are smart. But I think both things can be true. It's not like one. I don't think you have to.
It's like you have to pick one or the other.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I was going to say is they remind me a lot of like Fat Albert's gang.
Yes, they reminded me of that as well.
And like, if you talk to a lot of people who like, I know those are kind of characters that were viewed as like a lot of. I don't want to speak for African Americans, but I've heard people say, "Oh, we love these guys; they were great." But it's also like, if you look at them now, it's like, well, they're not great characters, but they're the best they had at that time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Perhaps we should have someone of African American descent give theirs. So
and
if
listeners, by all means, if
let
you
us
are,
know. Tell us how wrong we are.
Yeah,
Tell us
send us
whatever.
an email, post on our Facebook page. Like, we welcome other opinions.
Please.
Obviously, we can only talk about what we know and our experiences and how
Which
we're
is,
viewing
you
the
know,
movie.
a privileged background, but it is what it is.
But I will say, I loved the crows. I
Yeah.
really did. I really enjoyed.
I think that they are very much less problematic than the scene where they're building the circus.
Once
Yes,
we
and
post
the lyrics
once
to
we
the-
once we well, that's a good point. And then once we post the Fantasia episode, check out some videos of the black centaur they cut out of the movie.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's not
It was
good.
a wise choice to cut it out.
Yes.
So we'll leave
okay.
that. We'll leave it at that. But but essentially, we kind of have touched on this already. But they're trying to build Dumbo's confidence that he can fly, and so they give him a magic feather. And I think Melissa,
they shove him off a cliff.
well, I think Melissa, you said that you didn't remember Timothy was in on it.
No, I didn't. I remembered it being like, because I remember being a kid being like, well, how does he know all of a sudden that the feather was bogus, or is he just trying to make Dumbo think that it was bogus so that he doesn't die? But the crows totally fill him in. He's like, here's what we're gonna do, and I didn't remember that.
They bring him into the circle and kind
Yeah.
of let him know what's happening, and they give Dumbo the feather, and he soars. And it's a really sweet scene, him and Timothy, like, flying all around.
It was funny because it looked very like World War II. There are shots in it like when it's his shadow going over which this is right around when America was thinking about joining.
This was the last movie. I have a fact about something so keep talking.
Well, I mean, we're getting close to the end, and it's funny
Yeah,
that
this
I
is-
feel we should wrap it up because boy, does the movie
this was
wrap
the
it
last
up.
film released before we entered World War II.
Right.
So right before Pearl
Oh,
Harbor
okay.
happened. So because it's 41. But yeah, I mean, Dumbo, it wraps it up real quick.
He basically terrorizes the
Well,
circus,
basically, he does the act again with the clowns, to where he's in the burning building,
but doesn't tell anybody he can fly
but doesn't
now.
tell anyone he can fly. And so, he's
I mean,
as
he
he
can't
goes
talk.
out. Yeah, he doesn't talk, but as he goes out
Fair.
on the like pedestal or the plank, like the wooden platform, I guess.
the was it the plank? Walk the plank?
Yeah, he's supposed to jump down into a trampoline that like breaks, and he goes into like soapy bubbles or something, or whipped cream, or I don't know what. But he gets up there, and the feather, I guess, blows away, maybe, or he loses it
I think it's just he's going down and the feather
down,
just-
and then the feather just like he's already has jumped while he's
Yeah.
got the feather.
But I like
guess.
that Timothy like wasn't manipulating him. Like he put all his eggs in that basket too. He's like, I know you can do this. Like he was. If Dumbo got hurt, Timothy was getting hurt too.
Yeah. And so at the last moment, he's right about to hit the ground. He starts to fly, and then that's when he terrorizes
and it
the
makes
circus.
an airplane noise when he starts
yes.
flying. It's like full on
Bomber.
airplane noise.
Yeah.
When he sniffs up the peanuts and then shoots the peanuts at
at
everybody.
all the elephants. He shoots them at the elephants, and he terrorizes the clowns, and he's like flying up high in the circus tent.
I swear, and I need to look this up, the peanut vendor looks like Chico Marx. If you guys
I
know the
didn't
Marx
catch him. I
brothers
heard
at
you
all.
say it, but I didn't look at him.
I didn't.
I gotta look that up if they were using him.
So then they pretty much just wrap it up with like a bunch of newspapers.
Yeah.
And so you see like that Dumbo has become famous, and his ears have been insured for all this money.
$1 million.
Yeah.
$1 million.
$1
In 1941, yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
it's wild
please.
money. And Timothy he has a title now, and he's got a fancy.
Oh, he
like,
signs a
suit
deal with
jacket.
Hollywood.
Yes, that's what
or
happened.
something like that.
And then I love that the mom gets a private fancy car in the back of the train.
Well, I love that all the elephants are like singing along the song, like "I never seen an elephant fly." I'm like,
Yeah.
you.
I know they're just jumping on the bandwagon.
I wanted them to be in the jail cart.
Yeah.
I guess a rising tide lifts all ships, so they're probably the circus in general is making more money. So
Yeah, I guess so. So maybe everyone's getting treated
Oh, so
better.
they're gonna let him be an elephant now? Is that?
yeah.
Yeah. But the crows are there at the end too, like kind of singing the
I should
song
have gotten
as
his
well.
autograph.
Yeah, I also liked, this goes back to the first crow scene when Dumbo flies and he lands on the power lines with the crows. I like that all the crows are on his shoulder and his head. I just liked that animation. But yeah, overall, I know we have to ask our questions. You have to pull it up, but yeah, it wraps up very, very quick.
So we tend to ask a few questions at the end,
Okay.
Melissa. So we're gonna go over this. First of all, how was the princess? So I guess the princess in this movie
The female
was...
character's agency.
Well, no. First, the princess is just Dumbo.
Oh.
How was Dumbo? I love Dumbo.
I
was
love
adorable.
Dumbo. Dumbo is great.
He's like
Dumbo
a true innocent character. He
He's
does
very
nothing wrong.
Yes, he's very similar to Pinocchio in his innocence, I think. Pinocchio is trying to be a brave, unselfish boy, so Pinocchio's got kind of a different motivation, but I do think the innocence of both of the characters are similar.
Who do you think did a better job as his conscience or as his little, like, protector? Because I feel like Timothy
Timothy never left Dumbo's side.
Yeah.
Jiminy kind of comes in and out.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different, but...
Both of them, Timothy not in the original book. In the book, Timothy was a sparrow, and they changed him to a mouse because they like the idea of most elephants are afraid of mice, but Dumbo's going to learn to trust them.
Yeah.
How was the villain? Who was the villain in this? I think some ways it was the
circus.
ringmaster. I think the big villain was the catty...
The catty elephant.
The worst elephant.
I think. Yeah, the elephant matriarch was her name.
I hated
how
her.
they referred to her. Yeah, she was very, very catty. Yeah, I would say that, I guess, them, honestly, like, if you can look at it one way and say the world was the villain, like, everyone who made fun of Dumbo.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just one person, but I think the matriarch elephant was pretty mean. We saw her in a part of the movie.
I feel like the circus, though, in a way, should have stepped in to be like a surrogate, parent when his mom went a little crazy. And it was basically like they were just throwing him away. Like,
yeah, he was no
exploiting.
good to them.
Yeah, they were very exploitive of him. Like, how can we use him to make money in a way that just benefits us?
I hate to say it, but 1940s circus carnival culture, I think that might have been pretty accurate.
Enough. Yeah.
Probably, but that's still, today we would still say that they're villains.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're definitely the villains. She's not what I would call super evil on the, like, hierarchy of our Disney villains, the elephant matriarch, but she's definitely sucked.
And we've been tracking villain deaths. No one dies, in this movie, which I like.
Yeah.
That there's no deaths.
I would say if you're going to look at her as the villain, she's probably one of the more believable ones, right? Like, she doesn't have some wicked evil thing. She's just mean.
She's just, she's someone you'd experience in real life.
Yes.
Yeah.
We didn't really have a prince in this one, so we'll skip that one. How was the sidekick? I love Timothy
I
Mouse.
thought Timothy was great. I really liked him a lot.
I think I liked him a little better than Jiminy Cricket. Like, Jiminy Cricket is very
Oh,
heartwarming.
I like Jiminy Cricket, I think, better.
I think he's better, but I think Timothy is... Because I like him being, like, he felt
you
a
like
little
Timothy
more real
he was
to me.
more of a hype man, too, I think.
Yeah.
So he was more in Dumbo's corner. Not to say Jiminy wasn't in Pinocchio's corner, but it was a different relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I felt, from what I remember of Pinocchio, and it is not one of my favorites, and I haven't watched it in years, but Jiminy's a little bit more judgmental.
I mean, his job is you're supposed to teach him right for wrong, whereas Timothy's job is we got to make money.
But he wasn't exploitive. Like, that's the thing. Like where we're saying that, like, the circus and that culture was very exploitive. Timothy wants to make money, but he also, it's almost like he's a big brother. He's like, how can we do this together?
And he's
at the
really
same time,
and I think he wants to look out for him because he's watched everything happen to Dumbo. Like, everyone being mean, his mom, like, losing it and being locked up.
I also like how distinctive, I mean, you got to remember, this is Disney. Like, he didn't look anything like Mickey Mouse. Like, he's a very distinctive character.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking about that halfway through. I'm like, oh, he could have looked similar to Mickey, and he really doesn't. Without looking like a rat. Like, I feel like anytime they draw a mouse that doesn't look like Mickey, it usually looks rat-like. But I don't know. I liked him a lot. Okay, what was your favorite musical number, Melissa?
I'm very partial to Baby Mine. But,
Oh, yeah?
But it was, like I said, it was the lullaby that I used for my kids when they were little. I remember Abby, who is almost 17 now. It was like how many Baby Mines before I was able to leave her room to put her to bed at night.
Yeah.
It was like, Mom, I need 2 Baby Mines.
Oh, that's sweet. I loved the Crows song. That was my favorite song.
Elephant. I've seen an elephant.
Yeah, I loved that song.
I really like that one too, but I gotta go with Pink Elephants. Like, I've always loved that sequence. I used to. It's sometimes every once in a while I used to have a cover of it saved, like, of this weird, like, it was a group called Lee and the Press-Ons or something like that.
Yeah.
And he was like this weird dude with like
my God.
yeah with like a what is this? Xylophone. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I love that song so much. It's so weird and bizarre and in this kind of strange minor key, and I love it.
And it ends in like this huge percussion, like explosion.
Yeah.
It's so cool. All right, now we have our does it hold up questions. How did we feel about female character agency? Well, I mean, they were all just moms or catty women, so not great, but I really like the mom.
But to be honest, I really like the mom, and I've experienced a group of people being catty like that. I compared them to older adults,
Right.
but like Melissa said too, in high school, like I think, a lot of times when people see something different, they're afraid of what's different, and that's their first reaction is to make fun of it. So I think, I don't know that gives them agency. I don't know, but like, it's more real to life. Like it's something you might experience, and the same thing with the bullying. Like, where Dumbo gets made fun of for something he can't control, and,
right. Well, either way, whether that was a good representation, I think the mom was a great mom.
She's great, yeah. She's very protective from day one. She's
Mrs.
very
Jumbo,
sweet.
Mom of the Year.
Yeah, she's very sweet and playful. When we were talking about when she's bathing him, and, like, very tender, and swinging him during Baby Mine.
The animation was so good with, like, how they used the trunk to, like, kind of like stroke his head and hold him and all that. What did you think?
I think that it's kind of a timeless story. Like, there's not anything in it that, other than some of the problematic things that we've already talked about. But if you look at the core story itself, you could tell that exact same story today, and it would still have meaning.
Yeah. And I think also, like you said, I think it's a teachable moment, too, depending on how old your child is when you're watching it with them. You're going to pull different lessons out of it, I think, when they're younger versus when they're a little older, or anywhere in between.
So, with that in mind, Melissa, would you vote? You have 2 choices here about how much you liked it. Would you release a Platinum Edition clamshell VHS, or would you lock it away in the Disney Vault? I think I know where you're going to go with this.
Oh, no, I think people need to erase the memory of the weird Tim Burton one that I haven't watched, so maybe it's fine, but I don't think it is. and focus on the original story.
Yeah, I would definitely release it. I don't think it needs to be locked up. I think there's a lot of good thematic parts to it. I think there's a lot of good lessons in there, and I like them. I think it was good.
I feel like we need to come up with a better way of putting that, because like what I'm thinking in my head when I say you want to keep it is like we put it in a clamshell. It's on our shelf. When we're done with this, we have this kind of virtual in our mind shelf of the ones we kept, and the
but
other
I
ones
think
are
I
locked away
would.
in the vault.
I still think I would.
Yeah,
put it
no,
up
I'm
on
saying
the shelf.
I'm saying that. I'm just saying maybe a better way than release a Platinum version.
Yeah.
Keep it in your home collection.
Your personal collection.
Oh, they say that. I think they're like, make it part of your collection today.
Yeah. I mean, all of my kids have seen it, so
that tells you something.
And Maggie has seen it before, even if she says she hasn't.
All right. Well, if I feel good about this, how do you guys feel?
Yeah, I feel good. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us for this. I really enjoyed having you on for this one.
Yeah, and next time, guys. Oh, well, I just totally interrupted Melissa. Yes, Melissa, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, next time, guys, we're doing Bambi, and we'll see you then.
Thanks for listening to Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries.
If you want to tell us your favorite Disney villain and why it's guest on, send us an email at trprincessdiaries@gmail.com.
Or you can send a tweet about how great Maleficent is to @TRPDiaries.
Check out our Facebook group by searching for Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries.
Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries are available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Overcast, and many more.
Wherever you hear us, please be our knight in shining armor and give us a 5-star review.
Thanks again, and until next time, remember to always live happily ever after.